Okay, so today we're going to go over a few Procreate lettering techniques that I really like to use and that I found super helpful. So hopefully this will be helpful for you as well. The first thing that we're going to do, since we're using this Procreate app, is going to go over to this top right plus sign and create a new square canvas. And this video is assuming that you've already imported or created lettering brushes, and I'll link to those as well, so you won't have to do that all on your own. But I'm just going to go here to one of my favorite, which is the Rad and Happy brush. And then something that I do to a lot of them is I go in and edit, and I make sure that they're streamlined to the max, and that just means 100%. So basically, here's what happens when they're not streamlined. So this isn't streamlined at all. And I'm gonna write something. Don't mind these little guys right here. That's because I haven't cleaned my screen very well. Anyway, so as you can see, this is pretty lumpy, and that's not what we want. So then to go back, you either click this undo button down here, or you can tap with 2 fingers. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like streamlined. So you can see this is a lot smoother. So that's something that is good to note. So I'm going to write that one more time since I wasn't fully happy with it after I wipe off my screen. All right. So something that you'll see that I'm doing is I'm changing the pressure on the downstrokes. So just like lettering by hand, you'll want to adjust that, and the Apple Pencil is really good at picking that up. So that's why this is one of the best tools for this. So there you can see the finished product on that, and I'm going to move on to the next thing that I'm going to talk about. So that's streamlining and pressure that we just went over. All right, so I'm also going to write U down here. And then say I wanted U to be a separate layer. I'll go over to the layers and notice they're on the same one. So something I can do is I can click the select tool right there, and I can select around U and make it its own by clicking this 2 lines down here. That'll make it its own layer, but it's still in the first layer. So if I make it disappear from the second and I want to get rid of it from the first, I can go back to the select tool. Sometimes I like to zoom in. Fun fact, you can let go, zoom out, or zoom in when you're using the select tool. And say I accidentally go over this and I didn't want to, you can undo that and go back over that stroke. So there's that. And then you can just click the arrow and hold down and say cut. So now it's gone from there, but it's still in its own layer because we had it there. So I'm going to reorder this by holding down and dragging. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to group these layers. So something that I found out was you can select one layer and then barely turn. It helps when you do it with your finger. So you can barely slide to the right with your second finger. I mean, with any finger, but just the second layer. And you can see they're both selected now. And then if you do this, it makes it its own group. So then you can rename the group or flatten the group. I'm going to undo that. All right, so I'm going to duplicate this. And then this is something that I learned from Stefan Kuhn's. He did a short video, and I think it's really fantastic. It's called Using the Alpha Layer. So that basically means that when you're editing, it doesn't go outside of what's already on the layer, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So you take 2 fingers and you drag to the right on a layer, and it'll turn it to the alpha layer. So now on both of these, I'm just editing the alpha layer. So I can, like a lot of people do, say I want to change the color. I'll make it purple. I could do the drag and drop. Whoops, I'm not on the right thing. Oh no, it worked. Okay, I'm gonna make this one disappear. There you go. Or I could go back and undo that. And I could take, say, I like to use a spray paint, and I make it pretty large over here. Make sure the opacity is all the way at the top, and then have this selected right here in the alpha layer, and I can just color in. That way I know 100% that there will not be any messed up edges, that the edges will be fully the color that I just colored in. So I'm going to do that on both. Alright, so say I want one of these to be purple, but I want the other one to be dark purple. So I'll go back to this first one, and I'll color in that there. And maybe I even want it to have a little bit of a gradient. So then I'll change the color slightly, turn the opacity down, maybe change the brush size. It's a little bit hard to see. Oh wait, I was on the wrong one. Okay, there we go. See there? So then I'll go lighter. Ta-da! And then maybe I want to do that on this one as well, but I just realized that I went to the wrong color. So you hold that down right there, and it'll go to the previous color that it was at. So let's go to hello, and color that in. Go to the previous color, it goes to the lighter, and there you have it. So we've got the gradient going on here, and then I can turn this off of the alpha layer. As you can see, I just colored in with the spray paint on just the letters, but if I take it off the alpha layer and I color, then it goes over the whole thing. So that's the beauty of the alpha layer in a sense. Alright, so let's do my next favorite thing, which is turning the second one into a shadow. So I'll take this select tool here and I'll move this slightly. And I actually want that to be black now. So I'm going to go back, it's still the alpha layer, and I'll change it to black. Color that in. Alright, so as you can see now, there's the main and then the black underneath. But there's still some empty space. So I'm going to go to one of my other favorite ones, which is the Rad and Happy Mono Weight. And I also adjusted this to be mostly streamlined because that helps me. And I turn it down to the lowest size there. So then I'll just make a new layer here. And I'll color in these spots. Now it's fully integrated there, and then because as you can see here, if I were to take these off, I just did these weird color in things. So I'm going to turn these off of the alpha layer, and I'm going to merge them. Only merge layers if you have to. I think it's fine for this, but it can be a little iffy other times. And now I'm going to make these look even cooler by making it a light gray. Alright, let's get the spray paint again. So, there's a light gray, and then I'll get a darker gray going here. There. Now this is something else that I learned on Stefan Kuhn's video. So if you take the spray paint and you turn it way down, turn the opacity down about a lot, then you can color in Okay, so this is pretty dramatic. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this one more time and actually go back to the light gray and fill it in. Oops. There we go. That way I can see all of it. Okay, so I'm not actually erasing what I just did, I'm just making one underneath, and you'll see where that comes into play. Okay. So something else that I learned on Stefan Kunz's video, which I feel like I'm pretty much repeating but adding a few extra little details, is that you can use the Gaussian Blur. So over here in this little adjustments, you'll see Gaussian Blur. And we want to do that because these are really harsh shadows. So when we do the Gaussian Blur, you can see they turn into super faded shadows. So we want to find what specifically we're looking for in that. So here's where they are really harsh. Here's pretty much non-existent or just dispersed. And let's find some happy medium here. There, that should be good for now. Yeah, and then they're still pretty dark. So what I like to do is I'll take this, click the N and turn the opacity down on that layer. So then you just see a little bit of shadow. So as you can see here, this is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like now. And if I wouldn't have replicated that layer and made the bottom one gray, then it would be kind of see-through. So I want there to be something. So the light gray is still there, but then the shadows are on there. And the reason I didn't just do shadows separately is because the alpha layer allows you to color in those shadows just on where the words are, and so I wanted something to be using there. Alright, so that's the alpha layer, and Gaussian Blur and shadows. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to show you. So let's watch a replay. Go over here, video, time-lapse replay. Isn't that pretty cool? And you can also, when you go over here to share, you can export the video of that. And that's something that I like to do sometimes for fun. Yeah, I might make more videos later, but for now, this is everything that I wanted to share with you. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you have any requests. And I hope that you have a great day. Thanks.